Welcome to the Bronx Queens Bros podcast. I'm Big B, we got Big D, and Jack B. Dave, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm ready to get another episode out there. We got a lot to talk about. Exciting WBC, and exciting season coming up. How you doing today, Jack?
Good, really good. I'm excited to talk about some Mets and Yankees spring training news. Super excited about that. Then we got some World Baseball Classic. We're going to recap the last two rounds and the final, which was super exciting. Kind of unfortunate for the U.S. Then we're going to discuss a really interesting MLB Top 100 Players list, which me and V are going to have a fun time debating and ripping apart. That's about it.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. But before we get into that, I'd like to tell everybody that this episode is sponsored by one of the best kept secrets in northern New Jersey, Engineering Design Concepts, a small company doing big things. They specialize in product development, manufacturing, and test equipment. If you or anyone you know need assistance in that field, they are the company you need to contact. The link to their website will be in the description below. Now, I think we'll get right into the some Mets and Yankees news quickly off the bat. I'm going to go ahead and take the lead on the Mets so far. So, ladies and gentlemen, you probably already heard, announced a couple days ago, Francisco Alvarez, star-studded prospect catcher of the Mets, is optioned to AAA. He wasn't having a good spring training. Now, even if he was, I don't think he was making this team on opening day anyways. I think a lot of things would have had to, a lot of injuries would have had to happen. A lot of things would have to fall in his way to happen. I think he needs more seasoning defensively. And then I think his bat needs just a little bit more of a touch-up, too. He's got some serious pop. But I'm super excited for when he is ready to play. He's going to be a big contributor to the New York Mets.
Yeah, it's a good point, V. Alvarez is someone that's been hyped up in your system for a while. I was hoping maybe he could position himself to make the team this go-around, but looks like he's going to have to wait, which was kind of expected. So really nothing to be worried about, I'd say. And yeah, hopefully he could join the team. And Buck said it for a while, right? He said in a couple press conferences, if there was the robotic umps, like robotic strike zone, Alvarez would be our catcher. And he said that for a while. What Tomas Nido can do framing the ball is just so valuable to a team. And he's a great defensive catcher.
Completely agree. Completely. And also Nido, very under the radar, a fantastic spring training for Tomas Nido so far.
Yeah. Absolutely. In some Yankees news, we have Jason Dominguez, who just got optioned to the minors, which, everyone kind of expected. He wasn't really supposed to be in the majors until, I think, 2025, and I think that shot up now to 2024, with some hopeful that he could maybe be a call-up later in the season, but he really ripped the cover off the ball. Switch hitter, supposed to be like a five-tool player, but he's somewhat struggled in the outfield a little bit, but, he's just ripping the ball, and, that's players that we need. So, yeah, I was sad that I can't see Dominguez when I watch Yankee spring training, but, I'm excited. All this hype about a prospect, which usually doesn't amount to much in the last couple of years for the Yanks, and it seems like Dominguez is the real deal, so I'm pumped about that.
Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to have seen Dominguez somehow crack this roster, because, we know we got our MVP of the season, Aaron Hicks, probably starting for this team. And I'm going to be frank, I think Dominguez would have over 162 games this year. I think Dominguez has a better year than Hicks. But easily. So, I mean, it's fun.
But what did I tell you, V?
Well,
Cashman is a stubborn man. He has to prove himself to be right. He can't admit mistakes, right? He can't say, you know what, I screwed up, we're going to change paths. Nope, he committed to Hicks. So I'm stuck with Hicks.
It's tough.
Hey, I think you get – I love Hicks, but I will say you put Jack in some pinstripes. I think he'll have a better year than Aaron Hicks. Hey, can always count on you two to keep us up to date on the Mets and Yankees. I can't help but notice we got no injuries to report, guys?
I don't think so.
Well, Nimmo is actually looking okay. So he had sprained his knee in a slide last week, but today actually in a minor league spring training game, he had a 2-run triple. Apparently he was running well, swinging well. So he's probably going to play this upcoming week in Major League spring training games. And fingers crossed he should be ready for opening day.
Good. We can take a collective deep breath. Guys, let's talk about this World Baseball Classic. That was so exciting to watch. We got a couple rounds to recap since our last episode. So let's kick it off with the semifinals. How'd you guys feel about those games?
Yeah, U.S. Venezuela in the semis. That was probably one of, or no, it was Cuba. I'm sorry. Venezuela was the quarters, and then Cuba was the semis. Yeah, we basically just demolished Cuba. The quarterfinals was definitely kind of like the semifinals. I'd say Cuba kind of got put into a interesting spot there. Yeah, they looked really bad to begin their pool play. I think they started 0-2, and then they happened to make it out of their bracket. And yeah, they're not the best, but yeah, that game against Venezuela was something else. Trey Turner with that crazy grand slam, and geez, I mean, some of the most exciting baseball I've seen in a long time.
Oh, it certainly was. That was great. The Venezuela game was awesome with the comeback. Turner with the proving he's got that dog in him. He just said, "USA, I'm your new president. I'm going deep." And then against Cuba, he did it twice. And of course, he did it one more time. But we'll get to that in a minute. And man, that guy, he was electric. I'm terrified to watch him in a Phillies uniform for the next 11
Yeah,
years
dude,
now.
that was the first thing I was thinking watching this team against Cuba and against Venezuela. Man, the Phillies are going to be so good. And it's kind of disappointing to hear that Reese Hoskins tore his ACL today. But even still, and I think even with Harper out, I mean, this team's going to be so damn good. Just so good. And I was thinking about this, V, and we'll get to the list in a little bit. But when I was looking at the list, I saw Bryce Harper's name where I was surprised it was. And I was wondering now with this Hoskins injury, and I know, like, you know, Bryce has been mostly a DH, and he's not great in the outfield. Maybe can we move Bryce to first base? How would you feel about that?
That's an interesting note. Um, I gotta imagine if once Harper's back, if he can make a throw, like if his like I don't know if he's gonna be able to throw like an in-game moment right away. So
Yeah,
that's why I think
he's
they
definitely going
want.
to DH for a while. But I'm saying, like, I guess I'm just saying, like, Schwarber. I don't know if you remember Schwarber playing first for the Sox. He was a train wreck.
No, I
So
mean,
maybe
give Nick Castellanos.
Castellanos.
Yeah, I would give Nick Castellanos a shot, but that's a
It's
good
just
question.
rough,
I
dude.
mean,
That was the problem with the Phillies. They have a bunch of DHs, right? I mean, we've been
yeah, I
saying this
mean
for a
that is
while.
what that the Phillies allowed the most run defensively, which is horrible. It's just not good. That's how you're going to lose ball games. And I also
Right.
I don't think their bullpen's going to be able to hold the fort down for the Phillies. That's my biggest fear for them. But I don't know. I think Harper's the most athletic, and
That's what I'm saying.
if his he was a catcher in high
Yeah.
school, so if his arm is healthy and all the outfielders are there, especially like come August, September, and into their playoff push, I would throw Harper at first, 100%.
Right. I could see it. And yeah, he's athletic, but he's just he's not like metrics wise and analytics wise not the best outfielder.
No.
But let's talk about the final a little bit. Well, what were your initial thoughts watching that game, and then I'll get into mine.
Oh man, the final. Well, I mean, so it was Japan USA. In case nobody watched it, Japan ended up winning 3-2 game, and that was a great game. The Japanese superstar, he's a lefty swinger. I don't want to butcher his name. He's like a 23-year-old kid. I'm saying kid, he's as old as me, but it's fine. He hit 56 home runs last year in Japan, broke a record. Comes here, he hits the walk off against Mexico in the bottom of the ninth in the semifinals, and goes ahead and hits an absolute bomb of a shot. Like it was crazy, and I think he's gonna want. I think he has to come to America because he looks like the real deal. I think he could be a really fun player to watch. Obviously, we don't have to talk about his name because we all know Otani's just an absolute beast. Otani just he showed up to that WBC and just said, "Yeah, this is my game." But can I just say my favorite part of that the entire thing was watching Trout versus Otani in a 1-run game in the final out in the ninth. Like you couldn't. The only way you could have scripted it better if it was the bottom of the ninth because it was the top of the ninth. It was the best script. It ended up going to 3-2 count. Otani gave him the most perfect slider you can get. And shout out to my boy, Mr. McNeil, Mr. Squirrel, worked a great at bat against Ohtani.
He
Got
did.
a walk. Shout out to the Mets.
He did. I was shocked that it was him and not Kyle Tucker hitting there in that spot. I was shocked, but that was a good move by DeRosa. I think McNeil more of like he'll work the count a little bit just to see what Ohtani had. And I don't know if you guys picked up on this. He was throwing 100 and the balls were like moving, not like a two-seam. They were like cutting. He was throwing 100 like a 100-mile-an-hour cutter. It was bizarre. He was absolutely humming it, and geez, man. I mean, we just you could see the styles, like the Japanese style of baseball and the U.S. style, and just how the team was constructed. They kind of just clashed because a lot of the Japanese pitchers are throwing sinker balls. They're pitching a contact. They're not going to walk you, right? They're just coming. Go ahead.
And in the U.S., they train Major League Baseball pitchers to throw 3, maybe 4 pitches. In Japan, they got like 7 or 8 different types of pitches, and these hitters are not used to seeing that. And clearly, Japan was a heavy favorite going into this, and rightfully so. But I'm convinced if USA had their best pitchers available, they probably could have won this.
Yeah,
like if the Scherzers and Cole and DeGrom and like if those top guys were pitching for US, I think the USA would have had this in the bag.
I agree with you, and I also think it was a smart move by the Japanese manager to not start Yu Darvish, because that's what everyone kind of was expecting them to start Yu Darvish, because the top 6 hitters in the U.S. lineup just destroyed Darvish, and you saw what Schwarber did. Oh my God, he demolished that ball. But yeah, I knew the game was over as soon as Mookie grounded that double play. I'm like, yeah, it's just not meant to be. Like, what is Trout's literally just gonna swing for the fences, and he kind of had a rough game, but yeah, what a pleasure to watch. That's all I'm gonna say. What a pleasure to watch. Dave, you have any thoughts, Dave?
I was just thinking, I can't tell you the last time, me personally, and I assume a lot of the general, more casual baseball fans, I can't imagine think of the last time people were that glued to the television of a baseball game.
Yeah.
When you had Ohtani versus Trout, I mean, like V said, that's the perfect script. The main point that I wanted to make, and I think it's a point that the three of us should never forget, as well as the fans, is that Big V was wrong. Big V was, in fact,
true.
incorrect.
I was right.
And Jack was right. I mean, doesn't happen often, but when it does happen, I would just like to reiterate again, Big V, you were, in fact, incorrect. And speaking of other people having wrong opinions, do you guys see ESPN came out with a list here? Let's break it down. We're going to go in groups of 10 on the top 100 players of 2023. Let's take a look at 100 through 91. And I want you guys to just kind of share your thoughts on these rankings here.
Yeah, V, want me to just read out the names really quick? We have Eloy Jimenez at 100, 99 Teoscar Hernandez, 98 Logan Gilbert, 97 Lucas Giolito, 96 Ketel Marte, 95 Brian Hayes, 94 Wilson Contreras, 93 Varsho, 92 Luis Robert, and 91 George Kirby. So, V, your first standout, how we feel on these first 10 or bottom 10 top 100 players. Now, we were conflicted about this, right? We read this list. At first, we're like, this is heading into the season, or is it projecting? From what we read and what we see, it seems like they're trying to project onto the whole 2023 season. But, by doing that, you're basically taking past seasons and applying it to the list, right? So, essentially, it's the same thing. So, V, what are we looking at here?
I mean, the bottom 100 people here. I mean, it's tough. I mean, these guys are good players. I think Dalton Varsho should be higher. I think this guy's a little underrated. I think, because he was in Arizona last year. I think now that he'll be in a contending team in Toronto, I think he can get a little more love. Contreras should be a little higher, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
I think Contreras is a top 5 catcher in the game, at minimum. Maybe top 3. I don't know why I don't think he should be that low. Everyone else, I don't really have a problem with. Ketel Marte had Had a down year last year. So
Yeah, I was surprised Marte made the list. Honestly, had a rough last 2 years.
So
Um, but yeah, I guess they're assuming he gets back on track. Lucas Giolito, another guy that I was kind of surprised to see on here because of the season he had last year. Absolutely horrendous season. So yeah, I guess
yeah,
they're projecting him to get back on track. I could see it. Like he's a good. We know he's a good pitcher. It's just he hasn't proven it as of late.
yeah, it's tough. I mean, I can see all these guys being a top 100 player in the league. It's just like, as of now, would I project a couple of these guys on this list? No. But well, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. Maybe MLB knows what we're talking about. I call this list mostly.
You gotta be kidding me! That's 3 gallons of bullshit in a 2-gallon bucket.
That's what I call this list usually. So I mean, well, I'm gonna probably keep pressing that throughout this whole fucking list. But we'll probably move on to the next set of guys here.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, Dave.
I was just going to introduce it. Let's take a look at 90 through 81. And if you guys want to read it off and give your thoughts, go for it.
Yeah, so 90 through 81, we got Willie Adames at 90. We got Jose Abreu at 89. Tyler Glasnow, 88. Clayton Kershaw, 87. 86, we have Starling Marte. 85, Kevin Gausman. 84, Randy Rosarina. 83, Luis Arraez. 82, Matt Chapman. And 81, Kyle Schwarber.
I'm gonna jump in here quick first.
Yeah, go ahead.
Again. Clayton Kershaw at 87 is ridiculous. I don't like this part of the list. Holy crap. This is horrible.
Yeah.
Wow. Starling Marte. Oh, boy. Okay. Jose Abreu's a 300 hitter with 40 double. I mean, not a lot of guys do that. I don't know. Kershaw should be at minimum, a top 50 player, in my opinion. I think he's still he's not what he was, but I think he's still a really, really good starter. That every team, he'd probably be either 2, at least. Yeah. So, what blows my mind is a guy who won the batting title in the American League last year is at 83, and Luis Arraez.
Right.
That guy gets no love. Listen, he's going to be in Miami this year, and it's a bigger ballpark. A lot more room to get hits. I think he's going to have a higher average this year. I don't know how he's an 83. And then how's Matt Chapman above him? He had a horrible year. I know he's really good defensively. Horrible year. Schwarber at 81. A lot of home runs, a lot of strikeouts, not good defense. I kind of see it. We'll have to see how I feel about who is in front of him. But, yeah.
Yeah, I would just say quickly on this list, and we'll get to kind of my premise on this one, but Tyler Glasnow at 88. Now, you might say, yeah, he has the talent to be the 88th best player, but injuries are just a major question. I'm surprised they had him at this spot. And what we'll see as the list goes on is how they have guys that have been notoriously injured super far down on the list, which, is not matching their talent level. So I'm kind of thrown off by this move, them putting Glasnow at 88, just because he's never been able to string together a full body of work of a season and a half of, being a bit of a, eating some innings, throwing high velocity to the whole time, not having arm troubles, just confused about that. And what you said about Kershaw, you just hit the nail on the head. I mean, Kershaw has become underrated. It's crazy to think, but the guy is still number 1 or number 2. I would say he could be a number 1 on most teams. Like I could confidently say that. He's that good. People still sleep on him because whatever, he had a couple tough playoff games. Who cares, man? He is the real deal in the regular season. Kershaw needs to be top 50. I agree with you. The rest, I think good on what you said.
Moving right along, let's go from 80 to 71. Who wants to read it off and share their opinions?
I'll read this one off. So at 80, we got Yu Darvish. 79 is Stephen Kwan. 78, Joe Musgrove. 77, Pablo Lopez. 76, Tristan McKenzie. 75, Nasty Nestor Cortez. 74, Ozzy Albies. 73, Corbin Carroll. 72, Gunnar Henderson. And 71, Logan Webb. This is the one where I'm...
Man, what are we doing here, ESPN? And I know ESPN's kind of known now. Like, when we were kids, ESPN was... Or I thought it was super cool and, super interesting. And now ESPN kind of is... I don't know, branded as, kind of corny and, for the casuals or whatever. But what on earth are we doing here? Gunnar Henderson and Corbin Carroll, I know they're next to each other on the list. I mean, what have they shown? And I know, Carroll got this big contract, and like we're thinking these guys are going to be good, but you're going to put them ahead of guys like Ozzy Albies or Clayton Kershaw, even Luis Robert, Wilson Contreras, guys that are established vets, Kyle Schwarber, even some of these pitchers like Musgrove, Lopez, McKenzie, and Nestor, and Yu Darvish. These are guys that all pitched phenomenally last year, and really the year before as well. And most of those guys pitched well in the playoffs. These guys, we don't even know what they're going to be, what their careers are going to look like. I don't know. I was really confused. I think it's kind of disrespectful to the players under them. I am glad they include Stephen Kwan in this list. Love Stephen Kwan. Think he's a great player. And I'm kind of surprised he's ahead of Luis Arraez, kind of a similar, hitting style, like more of a contact base. I know Kwan plays really good defense and he's faster, but yeah, I like their inclusion of Kwan here. What about you, Jay?
So I agree with everything you said here. I mean, to put players who were all-stars last year behind guys who played about a month's worth of games last year. Now, I'm not going to be the one to say, like, Marte's going to have a better year than Corbin Carroll, but, like, Marte has been a great player for the past, like, 6 years.
You could say it, Lee. You could say it. I don't think it makes you a boomer if you say it.
So, but, like Schwarber or, like Nestor Cortez was an all-star last year. How is Gunnar Henderson? And don't get me wrong, I think these guys are going to be really fun players to watch. I think they're going to be great players, and maybe they can be top 100 players. Maybe ESPN knows. But as of now, you cannot have them at the start of the season or a week before the start of the season that high. They can't even be on the list, in my opinion. They haven't even been granted service time yet.
Right.
They haven't even been granted service time. They're going to be rookies going into next year.
And another thing, I would say there's really good players that are on this list, right? That guys that are not even included, and then, I don't know, it just seems puzzling that they're in this spot. Like, who are we giving the benefit of the doubt to seems selective. And it seems like they put them together, like they knew what they were doing here with these how they are stacked next to each other. But, yeah, kind of bizarre. I don't know how I feel about it.
Before we get into the next set of 10, I just found this to be hilarious. So, Gunnar Henderson, if you read the explanation, I'll read you guys the explanation of why he's placed at 72.
Go ahead.
He goes, they say, how does a player with all of 132 plate appearances and a 259 batting average end up in our top 100? Faith. That's what they said. They just said faith. And then they said faith in the prospect hype and faith in the flash. Like, these are experts crafting a list.
My God,
and their reasoning is faith. If we're going to go off faith, Aaron Hicks is in my top 10. Yeah, come on, get that button ready. We're going to make a list off of faith. You know what that is, V? Come on.
That bullshit is toxic. That bullshit is toxic. That bullshit is toxic.
I just feel like, wow, it just keeps going.
That's how much of a bullshit take this is here.
Yeah, I just feel like that's just saying, we don't really know what we're doing. We're going to mix things up here. I don't know. I think we could create a better list than that, personally. All right, let's move to the next 10. We got number 70 through 61.
61. I'll read this one off here, too. So we got Christian Javier, Bobby Witt, Brandon Nimmo, Jose Altuve, Sean Murphy, Marcus Semien, Byron Buxton, George Springer, Brian Reynolds, and then at 61 is Tim Anderson.
Yeah, this section's super interesting. A lot of interesting names that we're working with here. So, Bobby Witt, I like Bobby Witt a lot. I think he's going to be good. I think he's a little high. I would have him a little bit lower, but he's definitely belongs on this list. Your boy Brandon Nimmo, V, I'm going to have to say, as a proud Yankee fan, he should be higher up on this list. He's better than the 68th. He's got to be top 50, in my opinion. What he provides as a center fielder, and hopefully he's recovering well over there. Then you got guys like Jose Altuve, Byron Buxton, George Springer. And I would put these players, I think they're grouped together for a good reason. They're players that are often injured, and they all strike out a lot. So, but the talent is always there. The talent, especially with Byron Buxton, if he was ever healthy, I think, like we could both say, and all of us could say he's a top 10 talent in MLB. He really is. He's super fast. He plays a great center field. It's for power. Average numbers were way down last year. Strikeouts were way up. But if he's right, he's really good. He can never play. He's always hurt, right? He's always hurt. So,
I mean,
yeah. What do you think of him?
I agree. I don't think Christian Javier should be there at 70. I think he's a good pitcher. Obviously, he threw the 6 no-hit innings in the World Series. Clearly, he's got some nasty stuff. I don't think he's shown enough yet for me to put him there, especially in front of a guy like Clayton Kershaw, which is I'm going to keep referring to that, or even Yu Darvish. I mean, like, I don't know. I think Nimmo should be higher. We're going to see a center fielder in a little bit, who I think he's clearly better than. I mean, I don't know. I like a lot of these players. Like you said, Jack, they're all very talented. Marcus Semien, I think, is going to have a much better second year in Texas. I expect him to actually be a little higher on this list. I think he'll be, kind of a top 3 second baseman at least. And Sean Murphy, very underrated guy.
Yeah, I don't know how Contreras, in my opinion, is better than Sean Murphy, but
I mean, yeah, you can make that argument. But then again, like Sean Murphy's been playing in Oakland, so it's like we don't really hear much about him, and that might be hurting him. So, I mean, now that he's in Atlanta, maybe this year, maybe halfway through the season, we'll be like, oh, wow, Sean Murphy's actually really good. Well, time will tell.
Yeah, going to quickly comment on Bobby Witt Jr., big Bobby Witt Jr. fan over here. He's a friend of the show, great guy. I think I know he didn't play much on Team USA, but I think him just being in that clubhouse and being with those guys, I think that's going to help speed up the development that he has, and I think he's going to kind of start living up to his hype a little bit more. So I personally would have projected him a little higher, maybe because he's a friend of the show, but, good guy. But no, I'm really excited to see the season he has. He's a nice young talent. Let's move right along and go to players 60 through 51.
And Dave, you want to read this one off? You have the list there?
I can read, dude. I can read. All right. So at number 60, Jazz Chisholm Jr. Number 59, Emmanuel Chase. 58, Bryce Harper. 57, Jeff McNeil, friend of the show. 56, Cedric Mullins. 55, Brandon Woodruff. 54, Dansby Swanson. 53, Matt Olson. 52, Jeremy Pena. And 51, Alex Manoah. What do we think, fellas?
Now, before we say anything, Dave, you butchered someone's name here.
It was the first one, wasn't it?
No, Emmanuel Clase. Clase. You said Chase. It's okay. We don't make mistakes.
Dude, I can't read. I don't know why you made me read.
No worries, but hold the hell up, because this list at number 58 for Bryce Harper.
Oh, no, you did it. That's some bullshit.
See, that's why I skipped. That's why I mispronounced Class A, because I just wanted to get to 58.
You're just so shocked that Bryce Harper's at 58.
Yep.
I mean, Jack, if you don't mind me going in first.
Yeah,
this
go ahead.
Holy crap. Bryce Harper is literally a top 25 player probably top 20 player in the league. I get he's not going to be there for like the first 2-3 months of the season. But if this is solely based on skill and productivity of a player's career and what he's going to be doing when he's on the field, what the hell is Bryce Harper doing at 58? He plays at Citizens Bank Park, which is a bandbox of a stadium. Like, what are you doing? How is he at 58? I don't know.
We don't have faith in Bryce Harper.
That's clearly what I'm hearing. How is a guy with 157 plate appearances only like 20? How many spots is that? 12 spots behind him? So, like, yeah, what is that?
This man won the MVP 2 years ago in the NL.
He's a 2-time MVP.
He led the Phillies to the World Series. They had a lot of help. That team really played well. But Harper was one of the leading catalysts and reasons why that team went to the World Series. And he was playing with a torn UCL. So I don't really understand why he's at 58. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I don't know. What could you possibly be watching to think? Like, I would think you could make an argument he's top 15. Like, he's top 17 player. Like, I think you could say that.
Yeah.
I guess because he's probably going to be more of a DH. But then they also have Jordan, and we'll get to it, way up on the list. So, and he's mostly DH. Don't really get this. I think I would have Nimmo ahead of Jeff McNeil, just how I kind of view the Mets and who's more valuable, like we got to last episode. We also have the shortstops. Now, I'm curious, V, would you rank the shortstops in this order? You have Pena over Swanson right now, or would you have Swanson over Pena?
Swanson over Pena all day, every day.
I agree with you.
I think Pena's a great player. I think he, clearly showed up in the playoffs, but I don't know. I mean, Swanson's won. Swanson won. He's done it. He's a good player. He's a better defender. I think Swanson's significance a strong word, but he's definitely much better than Jerry Pena. I'm going to also cut in real quick because you mentioned Nimmo should be higher than McNeil. I think Nimmo should be higher than Mullins. I think I like Cedric Mullins. I think he's a good player. I think Nimmo's a better player than him, though.
Didn't Mullins 2 years ago hit 30 home runs?
He did a 30-30 season, actually.
Yeah. So I think that's maybe what they're thinking.
But Mullins had a weak year last year.
He did. He had a down year for sure.
So I don't know.
Good point. They're both pretty good defenders out there. Yeah. So.
I mean,
All right, let's move right along. I'm gonna designate the read-in to the second best reader I know for this next set. Go ahead, Jack B.
Sure. We're at 50, right? So 50, we got Spencer Strider. 49, Bo Bichette. 48 is Jimenez from the Guardians. 47, Will Smith. 46, Julio Urias. 45, Zach Gallen. 44, Jacob DeGrom. 44. 43, Dylan Cease. 42, Valdez from Houston. 41, Michael Harris from Atlanta.
Jack,
take it
hold
away.
on. Jack, who's that 44?
Jacob DeGrom.
Hey, you over there, don't bring that over here. That's bullshit.
Listen.
Lord have mercy.
Listen here. I told you guys I was hitting this button a few times. This is horrendous. Listen, I don't get it. I know DeGrom 2021 pitch half the year, 2022 pitched like a third of the year. But when he has been on the mound at any point since his debut, he has been a top 3 pitcher in baseball. And since 2018, he has been the best pitcher in baseball, in my opinion. Completely my opinion. I don't think a lot of people can argue that, though. So I don't care.
No arguments from me.
In the juice ball era, this guy was a sub-2 ERA.
He was better. He was better in that era.
That's insane. So, I mean, listen, I'm so sad to see him pitch in a Texas uniform recently, get 3 shutout innings. I hope he does very well for them. Not amazing, because I don't want to see Texas in the World Series, but, good enough.
Hell no.
But how is this guy?
Yeah, no, that's
solely based on skill. How is he 44? If you want to punish him a little bit for being injured, fine. Make him the 15th. Because he's a top 10 player in baseball, in my opinion, at minimum.
Yeah, this is some of the confusing things they're doing with injuries, right? So we have Glass now. He was around 80-something, right? It was just confusing because he's had a couple, good half seasons, but nothing like DeGrom. Seems like they almost gave Glass now the benefit of the doubt, but then they're just assuming Glass now is going to be healthy. Isn't he out like half the year this year?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's like I understand why people would be hesitant to give DeGrom benefit of the doubt just because of all his injuries, but I mean, talent-wise, he's got to be in the top 20. Him and Harper are the biggest red flags, I'd say, on this list. And just the guys directly above him. I know Dylan Cease had a good year last year. Framber Valdez, like, really? Like,
I get it. He's probably the ace of their staff now.
Yeah, but, I mean, jeez, man.
I wouldn't put him in. I wouldn't put him in front of Cease. Cease literally was runner-up in Cy Young. How was he behind him?
Yeah, and I mean, just complete opposites there. Cease just walks everyone, but then will strike out everyone. DeGrom just pinpoint control, and I don't really. I mean,
Also, Michael Harris. Listen, I like the guy. I think he's a really good player, but he's only a year in. Like, I don't. How is a guy who's won back-to-back Cy Youngs and arguably could have won in a different year? How is he behind him? I don't get it.
yeah, man.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Let's move right along. I'll have the third best reader I know, Big V, read off 40 through 31.
There we go. At number 40, we got Corey Seager. 39, Alex Bregman. 38, Kyle Tucker. 37, Luis Castillo. 36, Shane Clanahan. 35, Adley Rutschman. 34, Carlos Rodon. 33, Zach Wheeler. 32, Max Fried. 31, Wander Franco. I'm interested in what you think, Jack, about especially how you mentioned shortstops earlier. There's a couple of shortstops in here who I don't know if I agree in this order.
Yeah. So if we're going back even a little bit, where did we start here? 40, yeah. So I don't know. I think I have Swanson ahead of Pena and Bichette. I do like Corey Seager a lot, but Wander Franco, I mean, I've seen him play. I know he's a really hyped up prospect. He did not look good in the WBC. He did not look good when he got back from injury last year. I know the talent is there, but I haven't seen enough on the field for me to say that he's a top. What is he? According to this list, I think he'd be top 5. I would have him towards the bottom. I think I would have Seager ahead of him, and I might even have Dansby Swanson ahead of him if we're talking shortstops.
I would. Yeah.
So, super interesting there. I don't know. I feel like a lot of the hype with Franco is just his defense, which is outstanding, and the hype. But I don't know how that's fair to some of the guys that are proven in this league that have, stacked together great seasons offensively and defensively for years. Like, this is not just, Corey Seager was able to get to the point where he could get a huge $300 million from Texas because he had years of great, accolades, and he won MVP of the World Series. I mean, just the guy's a tank. I don't really understand that. I thought Adley was a little high on this list, but I could definitely see him by the end of the year being in the top 30 player just because how good he is. So really not too mad about that. Yeah, that's really my thought. I think Alex Bregman maybe is a little high. I don't know, but when he gets hot, he's really damn good. So not too many complaints here besides the Franco.
I can't hate a lot of the stuff. I think Franco doesn't belong top 31 on this list. I keep referring back to pitchers. Like, Luis Castillo. I think I'd take Clayton Kershaw over Luis Castillo. I like him a lot. I think he's going to be a great pitcher. I don't know. It's a guy who's done it compared to a guy who hasn't done it as long. I'm okay with Bregman. I'm okay with Tucker. I like Wheeler, Rodon, Adley Rutschman. I think he's dark horse. Still think he shouldn't be 35. I don't hate it. I don't love it there, though.
It's just super interesting, like, to try to think at their thought process. Like, guys like Robbie Ray, who had, a really good year 2 years ago, he's not even on this list, right? And, Luis Castillo's had really not so good, like, shaky years where his ERA is, in the 4s, and he can't throw strikes. And then, he found it at the end of last year, and all the props to him. But now we're just going to jump Clayton Kershaw, Jacob deGrom, Julio Urias, who's only 27 years old, which is I completely forgot to mention that. Just huge names in the sport. I don't know if I agree with that.
It's tough. I don't know. Having Adley Rutschman in front of a guy like Will Smith, though, is also tough for me. I think Adley could be the better player. But it's like what you're going to get out of Will Smith. You don't really know if there's going to be like the sophomore slump. That could be for any rookie on this list. They exist. So.
Oh, absolutely. Glaber had one of the biggest ones, and And they tried moving him to shortstop. I think that really messed with him.
Conforto had a huge sophomore slump.
Yep.
They sent him back to the minors during that season.
About that. Wow.
Like it's a thing, and I mean he ended up coming back the following year and being very, very good again. But like it's tough for now everyone knows that these rookies are legit. The league is going to adjust to them, and it's a matter of seeing if they're actually that good, if they're going to adjust back. A guy like Chris Coughlin, I don't know, 2007 Rookie of the Year.
Coughlin, yeah, I remember him.
Yeah, he won the Rookie of the Year and then became irrelevant for the rest of his career. I'm just saying. So you never know. I hope that doesn't happen. I think they're going to be really good players, but just for this list, I don't think it's worth. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you. Remember Andujar on the Yanks? Remember he had that one good rookie year. He almost beat Ohtani in Rookie of the Year.
Gary Sanchez.
Yeah, Gary. Yeah, I'm gonna get PTSD from these names.
Well, listen, fellas, ESPN has some faith in these guys, so I wish you guys would stop being so negative. But let's have some faith in me to read this next section, 30 through 21. Can we get a drum roll or something? Thank you. 30, Shane Bieber. 29, Pete Alonso. 28, Xander Bogaerts. 27, Max Scherzer. 26, Aaron Nola. 25, Fernando Tatis Jr. 24, Carlos Correa, one of the best Mets of all time. 23, Corbin Burns. 22, Justin Verlander. And 21, JT Realmuto.
Well, we got Carlos Correa, the $1 billion man, as I like to say him. Him and Arson Judge were giants. They were great giants for half a second there. Correa was a Met for like 20 days, which hurts my soul. Because I remember I lost all sleep the night that he signed his deal with the Mets, pending physical. Clearly, physical didn't pend. This list is okay. I know Jack has some opinions on Pete Alonso. I don't think he deserves to be this high. I love the guy. The only thing he's got going for him, he's probably one of the best run producers in this game. I think back in like the 80s, I think he would be a top 3 MVP guy, maybe an MVP winner, because they loved the type of numbers he does put up, which is just home runs and RBIs. And they didn't have a crap out defense back then. Clearly, I think in this day and age, he won't ever win one. He'll always be a top 10 guy. Everyone else on this list, I'm kind of okay with. Realmuto is definitely the best catcher in the league right now. Verlander at 22, he just won the Cy Young. I don't know how you don't have him in the top 15. Tatis at 25 is tough. That is a controversial spot because he's a dynamic player when healthy. When he's not doing steroids too. That's tough. Max Scherzer at 27. I actually kind of like that spot. I think he's really good there. I don't hate this list. I don't hate this part except for like a couple minor things.
Yeah, I absolutely hate this part of the list because we have our friend Pete who was bench pressing before the home run derby and all the Pete stuff that he does. He's somehow at 29. And I mean, what Veton said about driving in runs and hitting home runs, I could say that about Matt Olson. I could say that about Kyle Schwarber. If we're just saying defense doesn't matter, that's how I look at it. Yes, he's driven in more runs than those guys. I think I'd rather have Matt Olson. I don't know. No, I might be crazy for that, but I don't know. Just my opinion. I think Pete. He's just a butcher at first. I don't know how else to say it. It's crazy to think this man was a third baseman in college. He can't really feel that. I know he's improved. I know he was like horrendous his rookie year. Like he's gotten better, right? So
yeah, he has.
Yeah, but I won't bust your balls too much. I think Tatis. I agree with you there. Tatis, he's got to be higher for me. I mean. I know steroids and everything, but when healthy, he's top 5. Like when he's right, I don't know how you have him down at 25.
He's a Triple Crown candidate type player. I mean,
exactly.
I know that's a ballsy line to say, but he is.
He is.
I mean, his
Absolutely.
defense is Could hurt him now that he's going to go to the outfield.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how he looks. I mean, we've only seen him out there a few times, so
Yeah.
who really knows? And what do you think about this? And we'll get to the top guys, but what do you think? Correa is good here. Correa, Xander, and then what do we? Correa, Xander, Seager for shortstops. I know that's kind of a hot button issue in the MLB.
Listen, the fun part about shortstops and even like third basemen is it's a stacked position. But shortstop, especially, I think, is the most stacked position in baseball. I mean, like, you can go either way. It's a matter of what you value more on who. Like, Xander is a higher average guy. Correa's got more pop. Correa's got better defense.
Correa also's got like the experience, like the playoff experience. Like he succeeded in the playoff games. So is Xander, yeah. So is Lindor. So is Seager.
I mean, it's tough. I mean, I don't know how you can have. Oh, Tatis being in the mix. I know he's not a shortstop anymore because they moved him off. But man, I mean, I don't know. I don't know to have Correa in front of those guys. It's tough. I probably would have flipped Xander and Correa if I were to be honest.
Okay, that's not too bad.
Yeah, I think the only thing worse than the faith explanation is Big V's explanation of, oh, this guy would have been good in the '80s. That's just not a great take right there. Not a great take. If I had the button, I would have smacked it right there.
I'll do it for you.
BULLSHIT. That's bullshit.
I like that. It had a nice jingle to it.
That is some button you got there, buddy.
We got two more sections to go here, 20 through 11. Jack, why don't you read it off to us?
Yeah, sure. So we got Rafael Devers at 20, Garrett Cole 19, Austin Riley 18, Francisco Lindor 17, Vladdy Jr. 16, Yordan Alvarez 15, Ronald Acuna 14, Jose Ramirez 13, 12 we got Paul Goldschmidt, and 11 Sandy Alcantara.
I'm going to one guy real quick.
I think we're going to say the same guy.
Yeah, it's Ronald Acuna.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't care what this guy did. What was that? 2019 was his like huge year. Was it 19? Wasn't 21? Was it? Was it
21? He had a good year.
I don't know. Hold on though. Look at his numbers last year. One, this guy should have never been an all-star. Ever. He has so much potential. And yeah, he could be making this part of the list. But what he showed last year, which was you strike out a shit ton. I'm a big fan. I'm not a huge fan. I do like a little flash. I like a little style when you play. It makes it more fun. But he's a little bit too much than I like. So I don't know. It's tough. So I don't know. Lindor definitely deserves, in my opinion, the top shortstop. He's not. We'll get into the top shortstop spot in a second.
Really?
I just missed it, but I would take Lindor over the top guy, who you probably all can guess who it is in a minute. I would take. That's the only thing I would say here. Everyone else, J-Ram, love it. Vladdy, I don't know. I mean, Devers, which is, he's better known as Garrett Cole's daddy. That's tough, too. Cole's good there. I like Devers there. But also, Paul Goldschmidt at 12. He just won the MVP, so I don't know why he's not higher. We'll get into that in a second as well.
Yeah. I mean, if I had to say anything, I was just confused. Like, they had Schwarber so low, and he was a DH. I thought they're kind of penalizing him for being a DH, but then they have Yordan at 15. So, confusing there. I do think Acuna's got to be lower. He's got to be lower than Scherzer, I would say. And I would argue, even though I love Garrett Cole, I would argue Verlander's got to be ahead of Cole just from last year's perspective. I know age is probably a factor there, but gotta call it how it is, V. And I agree. Goldschmidt should be higher on this list. I'm kind of confused think he should be higher than Freddie Freeman, but we'll get to that.
All right, awesome, fellas. We got one more. We got the top 10. V, why don't you do the honors of reading 10 to 1?
Thank you. At number 10, we have Nolan Arenado. Number 9, Mookie Betts. Number 8, Trey Turner, Mr. President of the United States. Number 7, J-Rod. Julio Rodriguez at number 7. Number 6, Juan Soto. Number 5, Freddie Freeman. Number 4, Manny Machado. Number 3, Mr. Aaron Judge. Number 2, Mike Trout. Number 1, the World Baseball Classic MVP, Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have that much to say here. Besides, I think, if I'm being fair, I put Goldschmidt ahead of Freeman just from last year's perspective. I probably have Soto 4th, right? I would say Ohtani, Trout, Judge is fine. I'm not going to, pick that apart. Ohtani's definitely number 1. We could probably argue Trout, Judge based on last year, but I wouldn't. I think Soto should go 4. Then maybe Trey Turner 5, I would say. Then maybe Machado, Goldschmidt. I don't know. That's where I would go. I think Hernado's got to be up there too, man. He's the real. He just quietly is a stud every year. Like puts up consistent numbers, smokes the ball super high, like barrel rate every year. Yeah, crazy. J-Rod, they have him at 7 though. Kind of crazy considering how young he is, but yeah, good for him. He deserves it. Good V.
I think J-Rod is the real deal, but he can't be 7th in my opinion. Just can't. Not yet. I think I need another season of him doing what he just did with improvements in every part of his game, and then yes, he could be top 10. But a guy who won the MVP is behind guys who came up in 2nd and 3rd in the MVP voting last year, which makes 0 sense to me. Juan Soto, who somehow was a Gold Glove finalist last year, which that's a whole other mess that MLB does not know how to get right.
He was better. He was better.
I'm gonna
I don't know
ignore
about
that comment.
finalist. He was better.
He's not a finalist.
Yeah, he's not a finalist, but he didn't win. So
how is a guy like Lindor not a finalist? That guy should have won.
They play different positions.
Doesn't matter. Soto's not good with the glove. He's going to be a future DH.
No, I don't know. Well, the defensive numbers say that Soto's a plus defender now, so.
I don't know.
Don't yell at me.
Numbers are numbers, eyes and eyes. My eyes test he has not passed. Ohtani, number 1, can't argue that. Trout, Judge. If you go off last year, you flip them, but go off their careers, definitely take Trout. And Trey Turner, listen. Trey Turner, Lindor. They both did. I would pick Lindor. Like, I would. Like, I know I'm a Mets fan, but, like, I would. Like, he is so valuable. Like, he is so valuable to the team. Him and Turner probably get the same amount of home runs. I think Lindor's better defensively than Turner by far. I think Turner is obviously faster and hit for a little higher average. And then like the RBI situation, I think is very similar. So it's a matter of, do you value a slightly higher average and stolen bases over defense? That's the way I look at the two players.
What about speed? Stolen bases.
That's it. But Lindor is not like he stole like 18 bags last year, and I think this year he probably steal 25. Turner could probably steal more than that.
Yeah.
But it's no slouch.
I don't know. I want to see an 800 OPS from Lindor before maybe I give him the top.
That's fair. And listen, I don't know. It's tough.
I can't erase 2021 from my memory, V. That's another big thing for me.
It's fair.
He was just so rough.
All right, guys. I think that was an expert breakdown of that list. Probably better than ESPN personally, but that's just because I have so much faith in you two as baseball guys. Listen, next episode we're gonna as the season ramps up, the opening day gets closer, we're going to get into the Yankees and Mets again. We're going to fire up our segments again. So I look forward to that. But in the meantime, hey V, they can find us on Instagram.
You guys on Instagram at BQB Podcast.
And Jack, we're on Twitter.
We're on Twitter, and we're also on the Talk BQB Podcast, posting new talks all the time. Give us a like, comment something cool. Let's go.
Heck yeah, fellas. You can listen to us anywhere you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, Amazon, whatever you can think of, we're there.
Yep.
Your
your local messenger pigeon, literally
you
anything.
can't get rid of us.
Call, email us. We'll send you a personalized one.
Email us. Tell your friends. Tell your grandma. She'll love us. But until next time, I hope you two have a great night. I hope everyone listening has a good one. We'll see you next time.